Dear audience friends, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Narrative Relationship. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like these. Now, let's dive into today's story. First, my wife bragged about cheating with him, then she cried hysterically and begged for forgiveness. Ellie and I met in college and instantly clicked. When we started dating, I wasn't very assertive. It was her interest and desire in me that helped me value myself more and overcome my insecurities. I was just a hardworking nerdy guy who hadn't had much luck with women, so I was amazed that someone as smart and beautiful as Ellie was interested in me. Both of us were ambitious, and we each built our own small businesses by the time we graduated from college. After graduation, we moved in together and got married a year later. Our marriage felt very strong to me. We faced family tragedies, professional challenges, and various disagreements, but we always worked through them, and I believed it made us stronger. Ellie had a large social circle that included many men, but it never concerned me because she didn't do anything suspicious. All social outings seemed to be with a mix of friends, and I trusted her closest friends. As our 10-year anniversary approached, I decided to discuss the topic of starting a family. Early in our relationship, we compromised on the size of our family. I wanted kids and she wanted none, or at most one, so we agreed on having one child. Now, 10 years into our marriage, feeling economically secure and thinking our relationship was healthy, I brought up the topic. I can't help but wonder if my bringing up this subject triggered the chain of events that followed. A little over 3 months ago, she told me she was going out with her friends to have some fun. She explained that she needed to unwind because she was getting stressed about me asking about having kids again. That night, she returned home at 4 a.m., and from that day on, our bedroom became completely dormant in our relationship. Ellie had always initiated closeness as much as I did, if not more. On average, I'd say she initiated more often than me, even during rare periods when we were dealing with travel. I can't recall us going more than 5 days without some form of closeness. She started going out more, becoming protective of her phone, and avoiding me, things I had never seen from her before. After about 3 to 4 weeks of this, I talked to my best friend Omar, and he directed me to read about similar situations. Eventually, I realized I needed to do something about this, because it was affecting my mood. I reluctantly decided to check her calls and texts on her phone, feeling like a complete monster for violating her privacy. I discovered that one of the new people in her social circle is an old high school flame from before we were together. The more I investigated, the more I uncovered. I believe the fact that I had always trusted her completely made her complacent about hiding the affair better. I discovered that during that party a month ago, he attended and they spent the whole night catching up and ended up kissing, not even bothering to hide it from their friends, conveniently going to the bathroom together. Up until this point, I had been feeling a huge pit of anxiety in my stomach, trying to hold on to the image of the woman I thought I had married, fooling myself in a way. But now, the anger and sadness became overwhelming, especially since she seemed oblivious to my sudden indifference. She didn't notice that I had stopped making romantic gestures, and I felt like I was falling apart inside. Finally, a month ago, I decided to catch them in the act. I told Ellie I was going to visit my cousin for the weekend who lives 3 hours away, but instead, I stayed with Omar, who has been helping me record and copy everything. I waited, and yep, she brought him to our house, to our bed. I sneaked into the house, made my way to our room, and the sounds left no doubt they were so into it they didn't even notice me standing there at the door, recording them with my phone. It felt like something inside me just shattered, like my soul snapped so hard I could hear it. My veins turned icy cold, and it felt like a massive weight had been dropped on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I went numb. The next part is kind of hazy, to be honest. According to Omar, who I had brought as a witness, it seems I walked up to them, pulled the guy off the bed, and then Omar had to pull me off of him. I vaguely remember Omar holding me down on the ground. After that, there was the usual chaos of getting caught. I decided to cut off all contact for 5 weeks and started working with a lawyer, preparing for the worst. Omar acted as her go-between during that time because I just couldn't bring myself to talk to her. And you know what? Ellie reached out to my family and told them that we are having problems. Yeah, right. After the 5 weeks of not contacting each other, we finally met and talked. She was sorry and took full responsibility for her actions, saying it wasn't my fault. We decided to give marriage counseling a try to see if there's any hope of salvaging our relationship. It's hard to believe, but even after everything, I still love her. I hate myself for caring about her well-being and happiness, and now I'm questioning our whole relationship. Has she been cheating before and I just didn't see it or chose to ignore it because I trusted her too much? Update: after reading all the responses and messages, I took the weekend to think it all over and made up my mind. I realized that I couldn't live with myself if I stayed with her. Trying to work it out would mean sacrificing my self-respect. I also didn't want to be in a relationship where I had to constantly be on the lookout for betrayal. So, I decided to end it all. Here's how it happened. On Monday, I woke up to a surprising sight. My Johnson was at full attention, something that hadn't happened since I found out about Ellie's affair. It was like my body was saying, we're going to end this today and move on to something new. I even laughed about it, and Omar and his wife came to check on me, thinking I was having a breakdown. I got up, got ready, and called Ellie's dad to set up a talk. We met about an hour before our marriage counseling session. Surprisingly, I felt calm on the drive there, though deep down, emotions were still swirling inside me. We met at a cozy breakfast place near his house and sat down. Ellie's dad is a good man, light-hearted, funny, and level-headed. I thanked him for how he and his wife treated me all these years and apologized for having to have this talk with him. He listened patiently, but as I explained why I was going to divorce his daughter, he looked down, and I could sense his disappointment and anger, not at me, but at how he told me he understood, and I asked him not to tell Ellie, as I was going to talk to her soon. He agreed. We shook hands, and he wished me well. It hurt to shatter his image of her. I wondered if I should have asked him to take care of her, but I reminded myself that he's her dad, and of course, he'll care for her. It's no longer my responsibility to look after her. She's a grown woman now. After that, I headed to our scheduled marriage counseling session. I spent all day on Sunday practicing what I would say to Ellie and how to say it. I wanted to make sure my emotions wouldn't take over during the conversation. I sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes and prayed, something I hadn't done in a while since this all started. When we sat down for the session, Ellie was wearing one of the dresses I used to love seeing her in. For a brief moment, I almost forgot everything, but then the strong disgust and anger took over, and any attraction I had faded away. I let the counselor begin, like in our previous sessions, but after about 10 minutes of them talking, I interrupted. Excuse me, I have a few things I need to say to Ellie, and I wanted to say them here with a neutral third party. If I'm interrupted at any point, I will simply leave, and that's it. Ellie, I've had some realizations, and I want to express them. I don't feel the need to know if this was the only time you cheated because it doesn't change things for me. Knowing how long it went on or how many times it happened won't make a difference either. Even if there was a so-called good reason behind it, the why doesn't change the fact that it happened. The important thing here is that you did cheat. These are the facts that matter to me. Now, it's evident that you never wanted to have children with me. At this, Lou opens her mouth to interject, and I started walking to the door, so she immediately backed off. You were going to string me along for however long it would take. You were going to cheat on me sooner or later. This is when the waterworks started to open up for her. I felt so disrespected and unloved by your actions. The counselor begins to look like she's about to interject, and I respond by taking another step towards the door, which ends that. I want you to understand that my lawyer is already filing for divorce, and your father now knows the entire truth of what has been happening. Don't contact me anymore. From now on, our only communication will be through our lawyers. These are our final words to each other. Goodbye. I walked to the door and left. As soon as I closed the door, I heard her wailing loudly. She rushed out of the office, trying to stop me, apologizing and begging for a second chance, saying we can start a family. She was crying hysterically the whole time. I managed to push past her and get in my car. The emotions I had been suppressing started to overwhelm me, and I was barely holding it together. I drove to my parents' house and sent the planned text message to Ellie's best friend's husbands. When I got home, my dad was at the store, but my mom could tell something was wrong with me. She's always been able to read me like a book. I told her and Dad that I needed to share something important, so we sat down and waited. About 30 minutes later, Dad arrived. I poured everything out, and with each word, it felt like an ocean of emotions was emptying, and all the pain was pouring out of me. When I finished talking to my dad, he just held me, and I cried into his shirt for a solid 20 minutes. When it all ended, I felt drained but also strangely at peace. I've arranged for Omar to receive a Harley he's been eyeing for a while. He's been more than a friend to me, and I want to be as good a friend to him as he has been to me. I can't wait to see his face when he gets it. I think this will be my last post because it's the end of this story. I want to thank all of you. I never thought I'd find such sound advice from strangers on the internet. I know there's a long road ahead, and I'll still need individual counseling to deal with the aftermath of this debacle and rebuild my ability to trust. I have to hope that little by little, all this pain, sadness, and anger will go away. If I do the work now, the rest of my life begins, and I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it.